The Power Thief of Maple Lane. 5 years ago, I settled into my quiet two-story home on Maple Lane, a sleepy suburban street in North Carolina where neighbors swap gardening tips and kids chase ice cream trucks. I'm Henry Thompson, a 55-year-old Army Corps of Engineers veteran who spent 8 years serving my country. After years of discipline and sacrifice, I wanted nothing more than a peaceful life, a tidy yard, and respect for the simple rules that keep a community whole. But when my electricity bill started soaring like a summer storm, I uncovered a scandal that would pit me against a spoiled college kid, a corrupt cop, and a web of deceit that threatened everything I held dear. This is the story of how a fight over a few watts of power turned into a battle for justice that changed Maple Lane forever. It all started 3 months ago when my electric bill doubled, then tripled, hitting $400 for my modest 1,200 square foot house. At first, I chalked it up to an old HVAC system or the brutal summer heat, but something didn't add up. My engineer's instincts kicked in, and I began a methodical investigation. I tested every appliance, checked the efficiency of my heating and cooling, and tracked my daily usage. Everything was normal. So, I turned my attention to the electric meter outside. Every evening at 6 p.m., it spun like a carnival ride, even when I unplugged everything but the refrigerator. The pattern was unmistakable. Heavy usage from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m., then back to normal. I grabbed my binoculars and posted up at my upstairs window, which had a clear view of the electrical panel on the side of my house. That Tuesday evening, I saw her, a blonde woman in her early 20s, draped in designer clothes that screamed money, crouching by my panel with a heavy-duty extension cord. The cord stretched 50 feet to a cherry-red Tesla parked on the street, its charging light glowing as it drank my electricity. She checked her phone, casual as could be, stealing my power like it was her God-given right. My blood boiled, but my military training taught me to stay calm, gather intel, and plan my next move. For a week, I documented everything: times, dates, photos, and videos. She showed up like clockwork, plugging in her Tesla for 8-hour charging sessions while chatting on her phone or painting her nails, sometimes leaning against my fence like she owned Maple Lane. One evening, I watched her sip a latte and scroll through Instagram, oblivious to the fact that she was draining my wallet. Through neighborhood gossip, I learned her name: Jessica Harper, a local college student living 3 houses down in a sprawling mansion with a circular driveway and a lawn manicured to perfection. Her father, Michael Harper, was a county police sergeant, and Jessica had a reputation for acting untouchable, shielded by her daddy's badge. I crunched the numbers and estimated she'd been stealing $150, $200 of electricity a month for at least 3 months, possibly longer. That was money I'd earned through years of hard work, both in the Army and now as a municipal engineer. But this wasn't just about dollars, it was about respect, a principle I'd defended in deserts and jungles. The sheer entitlement gnawed at me. This wasn't someone scraping by. This was a kid with a $60,000 car who thought she could take whatever she wanted. I decided to confront her. That Friday at 6:07 p.m., her red Tesla rolled up. She stepped out in a matching red outfit, AirPods in, exuding the kind of arrogance that comes from never hearing no. I approached calmly, hands visible, using the de-escalation tactics I'd learned in the military. "Excuse me, miss," I said. "I'm Henry Thompson. You've been using my electrical outlet to charge your car, and I need you to stop." She looked up from her phone, annoyance flashing across her face, and laughed a sharp, condescending sound. "Your outlet? That's city property, and I can use whatever's on public land." I kept my cool. "Ma'am, that outlet is on my property, connected to my panel. I've documented your theft for a week." Her fake sweetness vanished, replaced by venom. "Are you threatening me? Do you know who my father is?" She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a hiss. "Listen, boy, you don't want to mess with me. My daddy's Sergeant Harper, and he'll make your life hell." The word boy hit like a punch, laced with racial undertones that made my pulse spike. I'd faced that kind of casual bigotry before, but it never got easier. Still, I stayed steady. "I don't care who your father is. I have video evidence. You have until tomorrow to stop, or I'm calling the police and the electric company." She exploded, screaming that I was harassing her, that her father would have me arrested. I turned and walked back to my house, her shrieks echoing through the neighborhood. Through my window, I saw her make frantic phone calls, pacing like a caged animal. This wasn't over. The next morning, I woke to a nightmare. My 2018 Honda Accord was unrecognizable. Every window was shattered, the paint keyed with profanity, and the word snitch carved into the driver's side door in 6-inch letters. The damage was $4,000,5,000, a deliberate act of vengeance. But Jessica had underestimated me. My house was equipped with 4K security cameras, motion-activated and night vision capable. The footage was damning. At 2:17 a.m., her red Tesla pulled up, headlights off. Dressed in black like a wannabe ninja, she smashed my windows with a baseball bat, then keyed my car with a screwdriver, pausing to admire her work. In a surreal twist, she took selfies with the wreckage, grinning like she'd won a prize. I drove my battered car to the police station and filed a report with Sergeant Davis, a seasoned black officer who whistled at the damage. "Somebody had it out for you," he said. "I know who, and I have proof," I replied, handing him a USB with the footage. He watched it at his desk, his expression darkening. "You know her?" he asked. "Jessica Harper, daughter of Sergeant Michael Harper." His posture stiffened, but he nodded. "This is felony vandalism, and the theft is another crime. I'll file the report and request a warrant, but be careful. The Harpers have influence." His warning stuck with me as I drove home, my car rattling with broken glass. 3 days later, the Harpers unleashed a new tactic: bureaucratic warfare. The city's code enforcement office called about multiple complaints against my property noise, illegal wiring, improper storage. An inspector, Gary, combed my yard for 2 hours but found nothing. My home was up to code, my lawn pristine. That afternoon, the health department showed up about odors, followed by the fire department for flammable materials. Each visit was a dead end, but the message was clear: Michael Harper was pulling strings to make my life miserable. Then, 2 city cops arrived at 6 p.m. for a noise complaint, even though I'd just gotten home. The young officer looked embarrassed, but his older partner pulled me aside. "Off the record, we've had 5 calls about you this week, all from the same source. Document everything and get a lawyer." That weekend, Jessica crossed a new line: mail theft. I was expecting a VA package with critical benefits paperwork, but it never arrived. Tracking showed it was delivered Friday at 2:47 p.m., yet my mailbox was empty. My security footage revealed the truth. At 3:15 p.m., Jessica's Tesla pulled up. She rifled through my mail, pocketing my VA package and tearing up other letters, littering my lawn. Mail theft is a federal crime, and she'd done it with the same casual arrogance as her power theft. I called the Postal Inspection Service and sent them the footage. Agent Karen Wells was all business. "We prosecute this aggressively, especially when it involves veterans." Jessica wasn't done. Sunday evening, my neighbor Mrs. Lee, a sharp 70-year-old widow, knocked on my door. "Henry, that blonde girl with the red car was in your backyard today, messing with your garden and electrical panel." I rushed outside and found my vegetable garden obliterated, tomatoes crushed, peppers uprooted, herbs trampled, $200 worth of work gone. An extension cord trailed from my panel toward the street, proof she'd tried to resume her theft. Earlier that week, I'd had an electrician install a motion-activated alarm on the panel. The footage showed Jessica sneaking into my yard, gleefully destroying my garden, then jumping 3 feet when the alarm blared as she touched the panel. She fled, leaving the cord behind. Mrs. Lee had more. She'd recorded Jessica and 2 college-aged men in a pickup truck tearing up my front yard in broad daylight, spray painting "snitch" on my garage, and knocking over my mailbox. Her grandson, Kevin Lee, a criminal defense attorney, reviewed the evidence and saw a clear pattern of escalation. I contacted my old commander, Colonel Emily Rogers, who connected me with FBI agent Laura Bennett. The investigation exploded, uncovering Michael Harper's history of intimidating citizens and taking bribes from drug dealers, plus Jessica's straw purchases of firearms for her felon boyfriend, Marcus Tate. Federal agents arrested Jessica and her accomplices, charging her with mail theft, conspiracy, civil rights violations, and weapons violations. Michael faced charges for abuse of authority and drug conspiracy. The Harpers tried one last desperate move. I was called to a meeting at work with HR, my supervisor, and Michael Harper, who accused me of harassing his family. I presented my evidence, videos of Jessica's crimes and audio of Michael's threats. The room fell silent as we watched Jessica's vandalism and heard Michael admit to corruption. HR dismissed his claims, and I forwarded the evidence to the FBI, the DA, and the State Bureau of Investigation. At Jessica's preliminary hearing, The courtroom was packed. The evidence was overwhelming. Videos, witness testimony, and Mrs. Lee's footage. Jessica screamed at the judge, accusing me of lying, but was denied bail. Michael's sentencing came first. 12 years in prison, his pension revoked, and $200,000 in bribes repaid. Jessica got 5 years, 3 years probation, restitution, and 500 hours of community service. Maple Lane transformed. Mrs. Lee organized a neighborhood watch, and 40 residents shared their own Harper horror story. A teenager threatened over a stray baseball, an elderly man silenced about Jessica's reckless driving. The county implemented ethics training, a citizen review board, and whistleblower protections. My home was restored, my car repaired, and I installed solar panels, turning my surplus power into profit. The $15,000 county settlement covered my $8,000 in damages, but the real victory was our community strength. Sheriff Anna Lopez used our case to train officers statewide, and Colonel Rogers praised my integrity at a commendation ceremony. 6 months after spotting that red Tesla, I sat in my backyard, my garden bursting with tomatoes and peppers, my electricity bill back to normal. The Harpers' Tesla was impounded, their legacy shattered. Jessica was in a Kentucky prison, learning lessons her father never taught her. Michael faced his twilight years behind bars. I'd fought for a simple principle: notice above the law and won. Maple Lane was safer, my neighbors were friends, and justice prevailed. The scandal had uncovered $200,000 in bribes, indicted 3 other officials, and empowered a community to stand tall. Sometimes, the smallest spark ignites the biggest change. What do you think about this story? Have you ever faced bullying, corruption, or injustice in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Did I do the right thing by standing my ground, or should I have handled it differently? Let's talk about standing up to abuse and fighting for what's right. Your perspective matters.